Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of Experience Kills. I am your host Ben, and with me today, as always, I couldn't do this without him, it's Richard.
That sounded a bit flat, mate.
Oh, did it? Look, not enough energy. It's Richard! Here he is, coming in. It's like stars in your eyes, and I'm Matthew Kelly.
Tonight, Matthew. Can I call you Matthew, or do you not want to be associated?
No, it's Mr. Kelly, please. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say what I was just going to say, because I think he was found not guilty. Anyway, hi.
Well, it's a good start, man. It's a good start. And it's what we need after the week we've had in the United Kingdom. I thought, let's get together and do a podcast in which we talk shit and talk about some video games and stuff, because that might cheer us up and get our brains off of the death of democracy.
Oh, yeah. It is dead, isn't it? Oh, dear.
I think so, at this point.
Don't think I'm allowed to go into it too much because of work and stuff, but yeah. That's bad. Let's talk about video games to distract ourselves.
Game over, man. You know what? The only way to be sure, we have to nuke it from orbit. I think that's where we're at right now.
It's the only way to be sure.
Planet.
It was a bad call, Ben. A bad call.
So, I mean, weirdly, in a sort of political way, I will always be fascinated by and always read about and watch documentaries about the Watergate scandal in the United States. So it's just come on the History Channel. It came out last year, which is the film documentary Watergate by Charles Ferguson.
Yeah.
And Richard, you'd love this. You'd find this fascinating. It's basically in two parts. Each part is like over 2 hours long. And it's a deep dive into everything that led up to, everything including the tapes and the recordings, lots of like all the people that are still alive from that era talking on the record about it and stuff, and then the aftermath as well, and it's just fascinating, Rich. And it's all about the Watergate scandal, Nixon, and they do this thing where they have these like dramatic scenes where actors are actually performing the real tapes,
right?
So the same things that were recorded on those tapes, that they are then setting in the scene in the Oval Office, people playing Nixon and people playing things like all his advisors and stuff, and it's absolutely compelling stuff, like so well done, so well put together, and if you get a chance, if you get over 4 hours, I would highly recommend sitting down. I've only seen the first part. The second part's this weekend. But it's just brilliant. It's just brilliantly well produced.
What is it on?
It's on the History Channel, I believe, is where I'm seeing it. But I think it's also like a documentary you can buy on Amazon. I think you can go and you can buy it. It came out summer of last year in the US. So it's been around for a little while, but they're just showing it now on the History Channel. And I just think when you watch Watergate now, all the stuff to do with Watergate, and you like contextualize it with modern politics, with Trump, with Johnson in this country, and you're like, oh my god, this is what went down over this scandal, and really by today's standards, this is nothing. This is really kind of a joke, like that this was taken so seriously by the standards of what people can get away with today. And I think that's terrifying and fascinating.
That's the depressing thing, because as I say, don't want to go into it too deep, but I would probably find it too depressing to watch right now, knowing that what you say is true. That if that happened now, no one would care. So yeah, it is a worry, but we'll see how that plays out. Video games though, they're still good, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna talk about video games. Have you not watched anything in the last week or so? I mean, it's been 2 weeks since we last did a podcast.
Oh yeah, it's been a while. What have I seen?
It's not been that long. It's not been as long as it was before. But have you seen anything?
I've seen The Boys. Did I say I'd seen that last time? I don't think I did.
I think maybe, but maybe you hadn't finished it at that point.
Oh, I have finished it, and I really enjoyed it. It was good. So I particularly liked how grim and violent it was. Think I'm probably trying to get out some anger issues, and that worked for a few minutes, so enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next season, which has already been greenlit. Have you? Yeah, you've seen it all as well, haven't you?
I've seen it all. I watched it all in like a couple of days it came out, and I've also read all the comics that it's based on.
Oh, have you?
And they're very, very good. But also, I was quite happy to see that it takes things in a different direction. That it isn't a direct adaptation, that it's, it's got the same characters, a lot of the same beats, but for example, the big revelation that season ends on for the TV show is not in the comic. That is not in the comic. So That is kind of exciting to see where they're going to take that. I really enjoyed that. I've been catching up on one of the coolest things on Netflix that somehow I hadn't heard about, but when I heard who was directing it, I was like, oh my god, he's like one of my all-time favorite directors, and that's the Mindhunter. Have you watched any Mindhunter on Netflix?
Oh yeah, season 1 I saw. It's on season 2 now, is it?
Yes, I'm still in season 1 on my watch, but oh my god, it's so goddamn good, Richard.
Yes, I enjoyed that. We haven't started season
compelling.
2 yet because we're still working through Glow season 3.
Yeah, which I've heard is a bit tedious.
Sarah said the same, and she's not normally one to pick up on pacing issues because she'll get halfway through a season and think, right, is that the end now? I'm like, no, there's all these narrative strands that haven't resolved. What do you mean, is that the end? So
you're not feeling it as much then?
Not yet. I think we're only like 3 episodes in, but it doesn't really feel like a wrestling show. I don't think there's been any wrestling in it yet. Maybe they're trying to...
That's what I heard. It's gotten away from all of that in the 3rd season. It's the last season as well, isn't it? And I watched all of season 1, but I felt no desire to come back for a 2nd season or now a 3rd season. It was like, I get it. I get what this show is. I don't think it's going to really give me any more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It feels like it's run out of stuff to do, and it's degenerated into unlikely, romantic liaisons. And you think, yeah, that's not what I bought into for this. It's like if Macho Man and Hulk Hogan just started making out at WrestleMania 7, you'd think, guys, this is not what made you famous. Get back in the ring, and not in that way.
I'm sorry, I'm just picturing it now, and I can only imagine how Vince would have taken that revelation in the ring. He probably would have run out with all the security and had them arrested. Probably.
Maybe he would. Yeah,
it would have made for some interesting television.
He's a bit of a wrong in that way, isn't he? Old Vince.
I mean, so talking of... Nope. I was going to attempt to segue there, but no, that's not even I can stretch that one. I've been reading some comics recently, Rich, as well. So my favourite, one of my all-time favourite comic book writers, who you've probably never even heard of, which is a guy called Jonathan Hickman, recently was given the reins at Marvel to relaunch the X-Men, which have been shit for about 4, 5, 6 years now in comics, like really, really directionless. And he is taking it into the most exciting, different, completely original direction, and I'm absolutely loving it. And it's that kind of comic where he's bringing it out. There's these 2 series called House of X and Powers of X, and they're coming out in alternate weeks.
Yeah.
And then so you kind of get this continuous story through the 2, and it's kind of rebooting the whole X-Men universe, and then it's leading into an X-Men #1, which is in about a month and a half time. And it's just, I used to like the X-Men quite a bit as a kid when I was reading comics, and I fell off of them. But he has this way of doing these huge scope science fiction concepts, these really massive high concept ideas, and just blowing your mind with the creativity. He is so good. He reminds me of like Jack Kirby or Chris Claremont, and he's really bringing in a fresh new take on the X-Men. And I never thought I'd be interested in Cyclops and Jean Grey and Charles Xavier and Magneto again, but no, this is really, really cool so far.
Well, that's good.
I don't know if you have anything to ask or care about that, Rich. I have no idea, but I like it.
Not on the comics especially, because I don't tend to read comics, but X-Men getting stale and old, yeah, I know, I'm on that train because of the movies. I don't know, do you think that they need to reboot the movies? Is this maybe a route into them finding inspiration to do that then?
The problem they'd have with rebooting the movies in this direction is that it wouldn't work in continuity with anything else.
Well,
it's such a different thing right now. So it's really hard to describe, because right now it's this crazy storyline that I suspect is an alternative timeline that's going to lead in some way to rebooting the 616 universe, the main Marvel universe, X-Men timeline, but we don't really know how that's going to happen yet. because it's so weird what they're doing, but it's such a fantastic retcon of some of these characters that I'm just loving it. It's so different, and this guy, whenever he is put on a Marvel book, he does something different with it. He had an amazing run on Fantastic Four a few years ago. He had a fantastic run on the Avengers as well, which led into a really good Infinity War storyline crossover. And it burnt him out, and he ended up quitting Marvel for a good few years because they basically relied on him for everything because he was that good. And now that he's come back to do X-Men, it's like, yep, you're still amazing, Mr. Hickman. You're still amazing. You're absolutely killing it. But yeah, I'm just loving it. It's really, really good. From one Marvel property, or I should say from one Disney property to another, did you check out some of the announcements from D23, Rich? Mostly about Star Wars.
No. I saw the new Episode 9 trailer. That's it, really.
That's what you said. Didn't see the Mandalorian trailer?
No.
Oh man, you should check out the Mandalorian trailer. It looks incredible. It's like, you know how us older Star Wars fans are always clamoring for the adult Star Wars? And we kind of got it with Rogue One, but none of the rest of it, Mandalorian is going to be for us. Like, dark, gritty, a different time period, a different type of setting and group of characters. It's going to be really, really interesting to see, I think. I'm really looking forward to Mandalorian. What did you think of the new trailer then for Episode 9, as you have seen it?
Well, it takes a while to get going for anyone that hasn't seen it. It's mostly...
You didn't enjoy that? Like, half of it's all like... Because the whole point of it is that this is the end of the Skywalker saga. This is the end of 9... This is 9 films of one story. I actually quite liked that opening half, which is the bringing the pathos, bringing the emotion, reminding you of what this has been and how long you have been a part of it.
Well, I know what it's trying to do, but it's not like I need reminding of what happened in A New Hope. Do you know what I mean? I know that stuff. It's fine. You don't need to tell me. I think it went on a bit too long to give me something new, and then didn't give me that much. And can't say I was impressed with Rey's new...
All right, so what about the new stuff? Ender. You didn't love the new stuff?
No, Rey's new double ender, I didn't really like it. A fold out Swiss Army knife lightsaber thing. Not so...
Clearly, come on, that's a Sith vision. That's a vision of a potential... that's not really going to happen. Let's be honest. The bit that excited me... The ginormous fleet of Imperial, very important, Star Destroyers that weren't First Order, which means maybe the Resistance are going to find a whole bunch of cool Star Destroyers to use in their fight or something like that. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I don't know. How do I feel about it? I sound like I'm bummed out about Star Wars, and I'm not, because every time I see one at the cinema, I'm like on the verge of tears in admiration and awe at what I've just seen and how many memories it brings back. So, fucking love Star Wars on the cinema. But, yeah, this trailer didn't really tap into the natural, rich seam of love that I have for the franchise. So, don't know. Maybe there'll be a better trailer.
I feel like you need to... if you really want to be a Star Wars fan, you got to watch that trailer at least 5 or 6 times and just whip yourself into a hype-based fever, and then you'll be where you need to be.
Yeah,
that's what's got to be done. One more announcement from D23 though. This was pretty cool. I mean, people look at the prequels now a bit more fondly after Last Jedi, and I actually caught the majority of Attack of the Clones the other day on Sky, and found myself not hating it as much as I remembered. So the news that Ewan McGregor is coming back to play Obi-Wan in a miniseries for Disney Plus, that's pretty exciting.
Well, yeah, maybe that'll be good. I mean, it wasn't really his fault. If you hated those movies, It wasn't because of him. So, yeah, maybe they can do something good with it. Positive announcement. Maybe that'll rehabilitate those movies a little bit more as well, and raise their status by association.
So anything else you've watched or seen or enjoyed or endured in the last couple of weeks you want to bring up here?
Oh, there was a bit of news about Spider-Man. Should probably mention that, because that was weird.
Yeah, I guess that is worth mentioning. The news that not Tom Holland, is it? It's that the deal between Spidey and Spider-Man, Sony and Disney is done.
Yeah.
That
ties with the Marvel
out of the
universe
MCU
are gone, and it sounds like they're going to reboot Spider-Man again. So there was a few memes on Twitter about Uncle Ben dying yet again. But I can't say I'm particularly up for that.
So I don't think they're going to reboot Spider-Man. Tom Holland is still going to be Spider-Man, from everything that they've said. But it'll probably be him and Venom in some film of some kind, I suspect.
Yeah, because we're getting the Venom sequel soon. Is it?
Directed by
year?
Andy Serkis, of all people.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
how weird is that?
Yeah.
It was weird as well that everybody assumed it was money-based. And I still think it probably is. But the comment that Sony made was that Kevin Feige was too busy with all the Marvel stuff and the Disney stuff, and therefore they couldn't spare him to be the producer and work with Sony anymore. And I was like, really? That's your statement? That's a slightly odd direction that, maybe that's partly true, I guess, but isn't it much more likely that Disney looked at how well the Homecoming did, and it was like, made them a whole bunch of money, and it was like the most popular Spider-Man movie of all time,
Yeah.
and Disney were like, we'd like a bit more of the money there, please, and Sony were like, no, it's all my money, and then they were, oh, well, bye then.
Yeah, that is some bullshit. No, we haven't got time for Spider-Man. Get out.
Does seem unlikely, yeah. I mean, it's probably because Sony doesn't want to share the much cash, but it's not like Disney is short a few bob. They could probably do without it, but they're the reason it's popular. So
He'll come back. He'll come back, won't it? When Sony kill him.
I don't know, man. Look. Do they need it? They've got X-Men. They've got Fantastic Four now. They probably don't need Spider-Man, do they?
Maybe not. I don't know. Not for now. I mean, there'll be a time for him to return, at which point Sony will be like, oh, we forgot we don't know how to make Spider-Man movies. Can you help us out again, please?
Yeah, when they put Spidey into the next 3 Venom double act movies and none of them make any money, they'll probably change their tune, won't they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, so that brings us to the little end bit of movie / everything other than game talk, and we'll be back shortly with news. So, we are back, and now we're going to talk a bit about some news that's happened in the last couple of weeks. I think we should talk about, first of all, the audacity of the people at 2K. I kind of love this. This is... It's just like they've run into the ring Stone Cold style, just flipping the double bird in the face of every government and sort of regulatory body to do with gambling on the entire planet. And you know what? Fair play. So basically what they've done is they've just announced for their new kind of, I think it's called the My Player mode or something. So their equivalent of Ultimate Team in NBA 2K20. Mm-hmm. And what they're not just got loot boxes. Oh, no. Loot boxes is last year's news. We're not just doing loot boxes. We've got straight up roulette wheels and blackjack machines.
But still with loot boxes, to be clear.
Still with loot boxes, yeah, of course. But but we're adding extra layers of gambling shit.
Yeah.
Just to be like, kids, this Peggy 3 rated game, we're going to teach you how to gamble. It's time you got on that bandwagon. You know the ponies,
it's quite
poker.
It's quite bold, this, right? So it looks
bold. Yes.
It looks like they've just gone, gambling? You guys don't know what gambling is. Watch this for a PR gamble, motherfuckers. And just full on leaned into it with just every possible type of gambling they could think of. So it's totally in your face.
So all those people that love gambling, that the anti-gambling backlash people, those people that were like, damn, don't take away my loot boxes. Well, this is for you. Like, hold on. Nobody said that. No, nobody was for loot boxes, guys. Oh shit, we've made a mistake. Shit. It's like, I mean, it's just another level, man. I couldn't believe it when I watched this trailer. I was like, you're just gonna get this game. Maybe the game, like, there is no game. Maybe they've not made an NBA 2K20. They're like, shit, all we've got is marketing material. What can we do? How about we get the game banned? And then we don't have to release it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like some crazy plan. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny.
But basically,
but they haven't been
please
banned
watch it.
because they've
No.
What-
Peggy were like, shrug.
yeah. They were like, yeah,
Kind of.
To paraphrase them, they said, yeah, it looks like gambling, but it's not real gambling. And I suppose it probably isn't, because there's no money at stake, right? It's not like you can win money or sort of, I don't know. What is it gambling? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's close enough where if loot boxes aren't just bad because of the random mechanics of them, they're bad because they are influencing young people into games of chance, i.e. gambling. That's one of the problems people have with it, right? At governmental level.
Yeah.
That it's normalizing and encouraging the concept of gambling, games of chance, right? If that's the problem, and it's not just the case of it doesn't involve real money, if that's the problem, then this is fucking ridiculous.
I don't know. I don't fully buy the idea that games of chance are a gateway drug to full-on gambling, because games of chance starts with rock, paper, scissors and snap and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, but... yeah, no. I mean, this is the debate, isn't it? This is kind of part of it. Yeah, exactly. This is why Belgium is banning stuff and a bunch of other countries aren't, you know? So it's really difficult. I do think it is coming off the back of the controversy, coming off the back of everything that's happened in the last 12 months regarding loot boxes. It is a very strange move to court this level of controversy. But they're going for it. I mean... Like I said, kind of respect the audacity.
Yeah.
It's certainly a choice.
Well, I guess they know their audience, and, you know, is a basketball audience really going to be offended by something like that? It's not. It's not really for children, is it? I don't know. I'm kind of guessing, but I don't imagine the demographic for basketball simulations is geared towards young children or early teens, is it? Which is the risk.
Well,
risk
of course
area,
it is.
Is it?
Of course it is, because if you're a fan of the sport, you'll want the game.
Do you know any?
And fans of the sport start at like 4 or 5 years old, I would imagine, when you're old enough to understand and watch it.
Am I just being a naive, quaint Englishman and imagining that no children like basketball because they didn't when I was in school?
Well, I think it's different because we grew up on football and sports like that,
Yeah.
and you know. In America, basketball is just as big as that, easily.
Yeah, I guess.
So I think that's what you to ask is there a problem with the rating on this game as a PEGI 13 rating? Is that the PEGI ratings are the US equivalent of BBFC ratings in the UK? Is that the issue because of the gambling mechanics in the My Player mode? So I think that's the weird bit.
Yeah.
Still, it just made me laugh.
Still, it's not a new debate, is it? But the interesting thing in that story was just how audacious it is. It's quite funny.
So, are you looking forward to Destiny 2 Shadowkeep?
No, not
October 1st.
Not yet. I know you are. I know you love your Destiny. I still haven't come back to it because I value other video games. Controversial,
That's fair.
Maybe.
I mean, do you know what I did the other day with Destiny 2? I tried out the cross-save thing.
Yeah, how did that go?
Which is now live. And it works. It was super easy. So you go on the website, you just set up, your primary account. For me, it was my Xbox One. And then when I logged on to PS4, I just logged into, the Bungie Destiny server thing, like you do. And it immediately recognized that I'd set things up. And it was like, do you want to bring your character across? And it was like, bam, it's there. And then it goes back and forth. The loot, progress is all transferred between them. And do you know what I really liked? Because I got Destiny 2 as a plus game, I think, on PS4 at one point. Yes. And I log in, and it just popped all the trophies for me.
Oh, mate, I'm doing that.
Every trophy.
I'm doing that.
Yeah, I thought you might. I knew when I told you that. It was like every achievement I'd earned on Xbox just popped on PlayStation. It was just like bing, bing, bing.
Love it when that happens. The best one of those feeling. I ever did. Oh, do you remember that remote control game remote control car game that came out on Vita at launch? What was that called?
God, no.
I can't.
No, I don't.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was fantastic for that because it was one of those that was cross-play, and you could get this is before they changed it, because I think since then they've kind of unified the trophies across both platforms. Not that Vita games come out really now, but if you played it on one, you would unlock progress on the other, and it was just like that. So you'd be playing on your Vita all the time, and then just log in back on your PS4, and you'd be ding, 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 and it was just so rewarding, to the point that my mate who I was competing with on trophies at the time thought I was a big old cheat for having a Vita and doing that.
I will, however, warn people. Bit of a PSA. So before October 1st, which is when the new, I forget, it's Last Light Edition, something like that, the free-to-play new Destiny 2 model launches. I'm assuming that's going to iron out this particular kink, because I went on to the Destiny 2 on PS4, and I kind of, I'll try it out. I've never actually played this on PS4. I wonder how it handles and it looks and stuff. It's like fine. And I then started to I did like a mission or something for this seasonal event, and it gave me my loot reward for it.
Right.
However, because I don't have any of the DLC or any of the extra content on the PS4 like I do on Xbox, it gave me like gear score of like less than half where I should have got it on Xbox.
Oh.
The power level was really low, so it was all basically useless to me. So I was like, I kind of just wasted my time playing it here, didn't I? Yeah, should not have done that. Okay, because it hasn't like balanced out between the platforms yet, because that version isn't out yet, if you see what I mean. Yeah, so I was like, back to Xbox for now then. Fair enough. But anyway, this is connected to this discussion of the cross-save stuff, and that basically they've come out and outlined their new way of monetizing content going forward in Destiny 2. So obviously Shadowkeep's coming out. That's kind of like the premium expansion with loads of new stuff. But long story short, and to be honest, it was quite complicated, this, and I was still trying to kind of wrap my head around it. But there's gonna be like a seasonal battle pass system for Destiny, much in the same way as you get with the Battle Royale games and the Overwatch and stuff like that. And this battle pass, for the first battle pass, by the way, will be included in Shadowkeep. So if you buy Shadowkeep, you've got the first season of content. The premium version of the first season of content will be included.
Yeah.
But the battle pass going forward, you'll buy it. You can either buy, I think, like 4 or 5 a year's worth all at once at a reduced cost, or you can pay about, I think it's about $10 every season of content for that premium version, like all the best stuff you can get, the bonuses you can get for that season. And this ties into this new model of seasonal content that Bungie's going to be doing, in which they will be introducing new game mechanics and game types which will be timed to that season, so that they will be taken away at the end of the season to incentivize people to come back and play Destiny 2 more regularly.
So why are they doing premium chargeable content like Shadowkeep alongside that? Why isn't it one or the other? Or is this...
So I think that's like thinking... So the seasonal content, the Shadowkeep thing, think of that as like an expansion pack.
Yeah.
And then the Battle Pass is more of, if you want to maximize your time in this season playing the game, it makes sense for you to get the Battle Pass, because that will make it easier for you to get all the levels of progress you can get within that season. But if you don't want to play Destiny 2 for every season, you don't have to, if you're, want to just, my mates are just going to be playing, they're around this month, they're interested in getting into a group for this season, we'll all get the Battle Pass and play together. So you can therefore pick and choose a bit more a la carte when you're going to be able to sort of get into the game and really give it the time you want to, instead of paying for like a year of content if you then don't use it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's more seasonal. It's going to be more based on the time you're playing. So there's not like the content will drop and it will be there forever. So it will get removed. So it's a case of when you want to play this game, you can maximize your time playing it by getting that Battle Pass equivalent. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of complicated. It's definitely a different way of doing it, and it's obviously something they're doing to continue to support the development of the game with this new free-to-play model that they're introducing in October.
Mate,
Thoughts?
I don't know. My first thought is Lethal Weapon, really, and I'm just too old for this shit. I don't know how I'm supposed to buy into Destiny 2 again when they've got this shit going on. How am I supposed to get enough enthusiasm to work out their monetization routes and the different things I need to buy? It's complicated enough already. I was looking at what's the new one called, Shadowkeep, thinking maybe this is the time to get back in. I didn't buy Forsaken, so maybe if I get this, I can do Forsaken and do all this and do it all on one go. But it's not that simple, is it? Because you don't get the Forsaken stuff with it. And
well, you don't know, because Forsaken will be part of the free-to-play thing, I believe.
Will it?
Possibly.
Well, see what I mean?
I think what they've said is all content prior to Shadowkeep will be included in the new free-to-play model that's launching on October 1st.
Well, if that's true, that's great.
But I could be wrong.
But it's really not clear, because they're still selling Forsaken.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's one of the big reasons why I haven't gone back to Destiny 2, is because I don't know whether it's worth buying any more content at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's very fair. Right now, let's wait. I think where I'm at right now is I'm not actually going to... I mean, I'm lying to myself. Of course I'm going to get Shadowkeep, but... Beyond that, I'm not sure. I'm going to wait and see how this whole thing shakes out a little bit. One of the things that's slightly annoying for me is that if I'm going to have this crossplay thing where I'm going to play with my friends on PlayStation as well, I actually need to buy Shadowkeep on both platforms if I want that content on both platforms. Yeah. And I think that's unfortunate that they can't get around that due to the way in which, you know, the console ecosystems are closed from each other to some degree. Mm-hmm. I am very interested to see how this free-to-play model is going to change Destiny. So I'm not sure I'm going to be investing into this Battle Pass system straight away, because I need to say, because I am that player, I am that lapsed player. I will go back to Destiny and play it crazy amounts for a week, and then I will disappear for months from it. Yeah. And then I will come back when new content drops and play it again. And obviously what they're trying to do is encourage those players to come back more often and more frequently, and to try it at least every week, or, you know, every few days, instead of having these big breaks away from the game, because a player playing it more often is more likely to spend money with microtransactions and things like that if they're in the ecosystem. So it makes sense from a business point of view, and it makes sense as they're now an independent studio and they're not being propped up by Activision. So all of it all makes sense to, you know, from a business side. How that's going to then be for the consumer, be for the player, that's what I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm thinking I'm not going to pre-order Shadowkeep now. I'm going to wait and see a little bit, because yes, this is a big change in the whole Destiny ecosystem. This is a huge step away from everything they've done before. So it's a bit confusing. It's a bit weird. I hope it works out for them, because I want Bungie to succeed, because they're a cool developer that have made games I've loved for, you know, as long as they've existed, basically. So, yeah.
I don't know.
Confusing times.
I'd question the logic. There's an assumption there, isn't there? Or this is my take on it, at least, that as a lapsed player, the thing that's stopping you from coming back more regularly is the lack of a battle pass like that. You know, is it that there's less stuff to do, or is it that you'd rather be doing something else some of the time? Not everyone wants to play the same video game week in, week out.
I think there is a problem in Destiny 2 where there hasn't been enough content, and what this Battle Pass and what Battle Passes have done for other free-to-play games is create a funding model for the developer to support the game better in a live way, which is, for example, something Anthem failed at hugely, right? As a game that should have been a live game, i.e. supported on a weekly basis, it just wasn't. Whereas, you know, this is an attempt to make that a reality for Destiny 2. But whether or not that happens, we won't know for a while, you know, for a few months at least. If you put your money in and then that season is shit, to be fair, like I said, the first season, the one that is connected to Shadowkeep, is included in the price of Shadowkeep. So you will, if you buy Shadowkeep, you will get to sort of see how the game is supported in a live model. But we don't know yet.
So it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's not cheap. And the season lengths, I don't think have actually been nailed down. Like, is it, 2 months? A month? 2 months? 3 months? We don't really know yet. So, yeah, it's all kind of still coming out a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious, though. Curious. It's got people thinking about Destiny 2 again. I'm certainly curious to see what happens. But in more confusing news, back from the dead, like a phoenix from the ashes, Telltale is sort of rising, kinda?
Yeah, kinda, but not with The Walking Dead, so shambling corpse analogies, not appropriate.
Well, I went for Phoenix instead, you see. That's why
Yeah, very good.
why I chose
But
that.
you did say back
So
from the dead, and that has connotations, doesn't it? So
You are correct. But, I mean, I want this to be the fairy tale story, but it isn't. It isn't, 200 people have got their jobs back, because that's unrealistic. The studio's been dead for a while. A lot of those people have moved on. A lot of those people have got jobs outside of the games industry as well as within. They're not just going to suddenly go back to the studio that did them so wrong. So it's not that. A few people have got contract work. They've got some people on record. But basically, this is a company has come in from the outside. They have bought some of the licenses and assets of Telltale. They've bought the name Telltale so they can operate with that, much in the way THQ Nordic bought the THQ name to use as, their brand. They weren't originally that company. They've just bought the name and the identity, which is what's happened here. Obviously, they've not released anything yet. This is just news that they are looking to continue creating these sort of narrative-focused experiences, though they're already talking about how they might not be distributing them in an episodic manner because of the way in which people have consumed media has changed, i.e., strong implication, the binge model at Netflix, for example, where, you might not want to have to wait 6 months for the next episode or whatever. You might want to play it straight away. So already they're talking about changing the thing that kind of defined Telltale. But yeah, they've got some people on board that have worked there previously, but I'm not sure. Is this good news, Richard? Is this bad news? Is this kind of... Is it wrong? Should they not be doing this? Should this company that just really fucked their employees so poorly at the time, should it be coming back?
Yes.
How do you feel about this?
I think it's overwhelmingly good news on a couple of fronts. So, first point is that their priority seems to be making Telltale IP available again. So for the curation of video games, that is good news. Stuff like The Wolf Among Us, that will be back available to buy, and that is a good game. So yeah, I'm glad that is happening. I think they've been keen to push that angle more than the development of new titles, at least for the moment. And they have said, as you pointed out, that they've got some people from the original Telltale coming back to work for them, even if that is just on a freelance capacity at the moment. Now, whether or not that branches out into full employment for those people down the line, hopefully that would happen. But my view, and it's not a particularly informed one to be fair, it's just from reading the news, but my view is that is good for those people too. Even if they've been burned by Telltale before, this isn't Telltale as such. This is a new company, isn't it? Just with the name and the IP that's gone before. So takes all the best bits, removes all the baggage of the poor management and the implications for those people that went with it. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, they're talking about growing slowly, growing sustainably. They're talking about creating a culture which doesn't include crunch. They're saying the right things at this stage, and right now all we can do as game players and enthusiasts is wait and see what they make and judge it based on that more than anything. But I think the important thing is, like you said, they're going to make that IP available again. They're going to get those games back onto storefronts. But I mean, the interesting thing with that is who gets that money from those subsequent sales? It's not going to be the people that made the game, is it? So, because that, like you said, that company doesn't exist. The assets, the IP, and all the licenses were bought by this new company, which means they will see the profits of any subsequent sales. So that's slightly iffy, isn't it?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know what the norm is. Whether
is that fair? I guess. I mean, it's as fair as it can be in this situation. We shouldn't blame them for that, I guess. But
I wouldn't knock them for buying IP and then making money off it. Isn't that normal?
No.
I mean, the developers
that is normal. I mean, yeah, that's what like
contributors
THQ
to that
guys have done
product
stuff.
have been paid for their work. I don't know. Is it normal for them to get ongoing royalties for stuff?
Well, that's a bigger question, isn't it? It's more sort of a case: should it be normal? How does it work in these
It
situations?
probably should.
Guess every deal is
I
different.
don't think it is normal. And so
No, it's
against
not.
that backdrop, I think it's unfair to criticise this new formation of Telltale for making money without paying the developers any royalties, because why would they?
No, but it's. I don't know. It just feels a bit icky. I guess that's the only way I can describe it. It's kind of like Telltale. It should never have gone the way it went. That was terrible, poorly managed. It doesn't even come close to describing how bad that situation was for those people. Let's see what they do. Let's just see what they do. That's all we can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So moving on to the final kind of news story. It's not so much a news story as an awareness thing. In the last week or so, a bunch of reports have come out from sources far superior to us with way more detail. So Polygon, Kotaku, Vice Games, formerly Waypoint, Eurogamer, they've all got stories covering this. And the only way I can really describe it is it's akin to the Me Too movement that happened and is happening still on social media platforms and various websites, in which women are coming out and describing the awful treatment they have had in their respective industry. In that case, it was a lot of film and TV stuff. In this case, it's the video game industry. And there have been multiple cases in this week of which women have come out and described sexual assault, inappropriate behavior, rape, abuse of power, and other heinous things that men have perpetrated upon them within the industry. And they've often been too afraid to come out and say these things because of fear of blacklisting, fear of not being believed. And now, thankfully, we're moving into a culture where these things are being taken seriously and actually being listened to and, dealt with. And I'm not going to go into every single one of these cases. There's no point. All I want to say is, respect to these people for coming out and talking about these problems. I suspect this isn't the end of it, and this is going to be an ongoing thing we're going to see much more of going forwards. And it's awful, and it needs to get better. And sadly, we talk about things like this way too often.
Yeah, I think it's it shines a light on how the issues in the Me Too movement, it's not something particular to movies. It's just it's people.
It's everything.
People are arseholes, and the more people are put in positions of power, the more that will be abused. So we were talking a bit about this before the show, weren't we? Talking about,
we had a debate about whether or not we should even talk about it for very valid reasons.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to talk about the specific cases because this news is fairly new, and the parties involved deny some of the allegations. So I don't think it's fair to target those people at this point.
I don't think it's fair for us to, because we're basically ill-informed.
Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry.
We're reading stories that have been collated by another source that have collated it from the first person source. So it's not even second hand; it's like third or fourth hand, and we are not experts.
Yeah, so I don't mean to say that for the for the alleged victims themselves, perfectly legitimate for them to speak up. But for me, I wouldn't want to comment on those individual cases, other than to say in more general terms, men can be fucking assholes, and it shouldn't happen. So we shouldn't need to say that. I don't want to be a white knight about it and say I wouldn't do all that, because obviously I wouldn't. Whatever.
You've done it now.
Okay, all right, I would. Fine.
Oh no, it's the trap.
What's happened?
The trap.
What is the correct thing to say? You're not allowed to say anything these days.
It's tricky. But keep speaking up. People are listening. It shouldn't happen, and hopefully one day it won't. That's all we can. That's all we can go for, isn't it? All we can aim for is to stop this stuff. So I just want to acknowledge that this is ongoing. It's probably not the last time we will bring it up in some form.
No, you kind of got to mention it just to make people aware that it will be called out, but not. We don't need to rake over the detail of it, do we? Just don't do it, guys.
So I think just say no. Right. With that, I think we come to the end of the news segment. We'll be back shortly with one game we're going to really go over. So, back soon. So, let's talk about games, baby. And before we get to the one where me and Richard have been playing, I think, lots of it in the last week, I just wanted to touch quickly on Erica, which came out in the last couple of weeks. And this is a new FMV game on PlayStation, I believe, exclusively. And it's...
Ben, what is FMV? I have never heard of that.
What is FMV? That is full motion video, which is a very fun initialization. I do like saying FMV. It used to be actually, I say it used to be. It was in fashion for about 5 minutes in the sort of the 90s, and they were often really bad games. Night Trap comes to mind as an FMV game.
Yes.
But recently we've seen FMV make its way into games in a narrative sense, in a few interesting ways. And the one game... and I'm going to call it a game for this purpose, that really comes to mind when I'm talking about Erica, is Bandersnatch on Netflix. And the reason that it's worth mentioning Bandersnatch is because Erica tries very, very, very hard to show that it's a game and that it's not just Bandersnatch. And that's the biggest fucking problem with Erica. Honestly, is that... so you're meant to play this game with your phone, right? So you have your phone as your control input.
Yeah.
So... right, that seems simple enough. And obviously the game has a lot of, choices. So you play as this young woman, Erica. You've had a trauma as a child. You're getting pulled back into it. There's lots of weird Greek cult symbology, and, there's something weird going on in this strange mental hospital, which you end up staying at for reasons that I won't go into because of spoilers. But, the way you interact with the game, other than just choices, is kind of touch screen controlled gestures. So to open a doorknob, I have to do a rotation gesture on my phone. To open a box, I have to lift it up with an upward gesture on my phone. And it's just the most fucking shoehorned, contrived bullshit that you could have it just slows everything down. And that's the only gamey bit of the game.
How is that?
So if you take...
how is that happening in 2019? Because that just sounds like... when Heavy Rain came out, and then everyone was like, yeah, fine, Heavy Rain. And then they brought out the PlayStation Move patch. So you had to open... like you're talking about, open doors with rotating your wrist and shit. So it's just that?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
And I mean, the problem here is that that's what makes this game a game and not just a choose-your-own Netflix special made by Charlie Brooker. Biggest problem there is that Charlie Brooker, very, very good writer, very, very good director. The guys that made Erica, they're not terrible, but they're trying to make a very serious game that isn't leaning in on the sort of tongue-in-cheek nature of the format. And therefore, it just kind of... it's kind of just not great. It's only short, but I was playing it with my wife, and I was letting her make the decisions, and I was kind of just chiming in a bit and being the controller for her. And we just got bored. I mean, the whole game is only meant to be less than 2 hours long, even if you finish it. And we stopped before we finished it. And it was just we couldn't even bring ourselves to finish the game. And it's not a terrible idea, and the performances are quite good. The writing's fine, but it's just so self-serious. And I think when FMV games are the best is when they realise that they're a bit corny and a bit silly, and they just lean into it. I think of the ones made by Wales Interactive, like Bunker and Late Shift, and The Infectious Case of Dr. Decker. I want to... yeah, is that right? I was trying to remember the thing there. They're quite corny, aren't they? And they really understand the limitations of the genre.
They're not self-knowingly silly, though, are they? They do take themselves a bit seriously. No, but there's a tone to them.
Sorry, what's that?
They take themselves a bit seriously. They're not, daft.
But there is a tone to them, yeah. They know that they're not trying to make an Oscar-winning movie. They understand that what they're producing is a B movie.
Oh, yeah. So this is a bit more pretentious than that, is it?
Oh, this thinks this is high art.
Oh, right.
It really does.
I was going to say it's maybe unfair of you to say they're not as good as Charlie Brooker because Charlie Brooker. But, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they're aiming for that, fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Bandersnatch, that's the problem, is for instance purposes, this is another one of those things, like Bandersnatch was, but the quality isn't there. But then you've got this forced-in gameplay elements that just make it feel really tedious, and it slows everything down so much that you just want to get through the story and experience the narrative, because it's kind of fun. It's got some cool stuff in there. Yeah. But yeah, it's a fun experiment. It's less than a tenner. and if you do enjoy F&B games like I do, I often pick them up. Yeah, there is something there to have fun with. It's just you're just missing the point a little bit.
What's this on? Xbox?
This is PlayStation. I believe it's a PlayStation exclusive.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. So that was Erica. Right. Let's do it. Let's get into the latest game from mine and Richard's, perhaps one of our most favourite developers, Remedy. And we have played, I hope he's had time to play, a bunch of Control.
I have played a bunch.
I haven't finished it. You've played a bunch as well. Where are you up to?
Not too far. I've got maybe a quarter of the powers, so...
okay, I'm further than you. Okay.
Yeah, I think you probably are. So, what have I got? I've got the dash move thing. I've got the shield. I've got a couple of different guns. But it does feel like there are gaps in my repertoire, so I need to get a bit further. Where are you up to?
Would you want me to say? Because there are powers I've got you haven't.
I've seen videos. I know there's like levitation powers and stuff. So
I've got mind control.
Oh shit! I didn't know you had that.
Yeah, baby. That
sounds good.
So Control. Let's give a little. You play as Jesse. God, what's her surname? Jesse something. Who is actually the same actor. And sort of like her lightness and performance, from the girl who played Beth in Quantum Break.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise.
Yeah, same person. Cool. And she gets to this weird place called what's it called? The Oldest House, which is the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control, which is this government organization which is all about kind of controlling, funnily enough, and keeping in check the paranormal and paranatural elements of the world. And boy oh boy did these guys read a lot of SCP before making this game. I can imagine that was a direct inspiration for making the game, actually. Richard, do you know what SCP is? And if you don't, oh my god, you need to get on that website and have a read, because it's brilliant.
Ben, what the hell is SCP?
SCP, I will look it up right now so I give you the correct... So the SCP Foundation is a website that's been around for a really long time, and it's basically a user-editable wiki, which is all to do with writing these entries in the most sort of like dry, scientific way possible for supernatural weirdness. And basically, it is 100% what this game is. When you pick up reports in this game, by the way, I'm reading everything I find in this game because the writing is amazing.
Same.
Yeah. When you read those reports, it's like reading something out of SCP. The inspiration is just unreal. You should have a look at the website right now as we talk about it.
I'm looking at it now. You're right. It is like that. It's totally the same.
It is 100% this, isn't it? And it's so cool that they've made a game of this. It makes me so happy. It's like the weirdness of this game is just incredibly compelling. Everything from the sort of like MC Escher inspired visuals with the reds, the greys, the blacks and the stark whites, it just pops off the screen and pulls you in, and then you layer that with the increasingly odd shit that happens, trying to not spoil things, as you get further in the game, and it just is amazing and fun. And the gameplay, oh my god, I love the telekinesis, Richard. The first thing I did was max level up all my telekinetic powers all the way to the top.
Yes. I've done the same.
And now energy. All I do.
I've done the same. That's where I've put most of my power. It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I have no health, but I just walk into a room and throw everything at people.
Yeah.
That's all I do, and it's so satisfying. It feels amazing. And the game, the engine, like they've really come on a long way since Quantum Break. The fact that they physics model like everything in the environment, and yeah, let's can't ignore the elephant in the room. It has some technical problems. Yes. There is some frame rate dipping even on the X, and on the lesser platforms, this boy chugs. From what I've heard, like the frame rate is terrible. It hitches from time to time, even on our X, which is, from what I've read, the best way of playing is on the X if that's all you've got is a console. But even then, yeah, there's performance issues. But they're looking at that. They're going to bring out patches, and frankly, that doesn't really hurt my enjoyment. The game is just so cool, man. The gunplay feels amazing. The powers feel incredible. The visuals are insane. The story is fun. The writing is just insane. I love the live action stuff with the crazy like presentations from Darling. Have you seen the weird ass puppet show?
Oh my god, the puppet show! Yeah, it's terrifying. So
weird.
There's videos dotted around the environment, like old school CRT TVs with built-in VHS recorders, and you can watch these videos played back, and it evokes those shorts from Alan Wake where you had I can't remember what they were called now, but they were
Welcome to Night Vale.
What were they?
Welcome to Night Vale, wasn't it?
I don't know. That doesn't ring a bell, but it looks like the Twilight Zone, didn't it? It was riffing off of the Twilight Zone TV show.
I'm looking it up now.
But anyway, whatever it's called, it's like that. And they were like these 2 or 3 minute short videos that were sort of weird and unnerving within themselves, but also that sense of horror and I don't know, just being somewhere that wasn't quite right carried through to the environment around you. It's all built within the same sort of context. So yeah, you're watching these puppet shows which are terrifying, and in the context of what you're looking at around you, the whole atmosphere is really well built across the videos. Even like you said, the writing in the documents that you find, the whole thing builds this atmosphere that you don't really feel it elsewhere. There aren't many games where you've got document pickups that you actually bother reading. I normally pick them up because I like getting trophies and achievements, and I like seeing 100% on a stat screen. But this is one of the few games where I'm actually reading this stuff, and it adds to the game itself. Really enjoying it.
The rarest of rare things has happened with me is that I know when I beat the story, I am going to poke around until I find everything in this game. Yeah. And I will not stop until I find and solve every single mystery and side mission and fetch quest and collectible and everything. I will want everything in this game because nothing feels accidental. Everything feels designed and placed and thoughtful, and like they've really considered every piece of what would normally be very incidental background ephemera. It's just incredible. Like the design, and I mean that in the biggest sense of the world, not just the overall look, but every element of design that's gone into this game works brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it just creates an incredible world that is both, scary and creepy and compelling. And there's a bit that comes up quite late on, or not late on, but in the game. I reckon I'm about halfway personally. But Jessie says this thing when she's talking to herself. She's talking about, or to you. It's really great. I love that as well. Some weird, almost fourth wall breaking stuff in this game. But she's talking about how, considering everything in the FCB, I should hate it here. I should feel that this is the worst place. And yet I've never felt more at home, and I don't ever want to leave.
You know what? I picked up on that early on because the tone is really odd. Like,
yes.
The start of the game is where she enters the building. And it's unclear how familiar she is with what happens there, but she's there for there's a clear motivation which I won't go into, so I won't spoil that. But there's a good reason.
I think you can mention the brother because that's in promotional material.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay, so something happened to her and her brother when they were children. Brother is missing. She thinks that the Federal Bureau of Control had something to do with that disappearance, and she's gone there to find answers. But in a very short space of time upon arriving in that building, she becomes the new director of the Federal Bureau of Control. And that jump from sort of an inquisitive investigatory visit to sort of running and taking literal control of the place itself doesn't seem a big jump in her mind. So it feels almost destined that she is meant to be there, and that's part of who she is. Because if it was me, I think I'd be freaking the fuck out having all these powers.
And what makes that even weirder, isn't it? Is that everybody else accepts it,
Yeah.
like instantly as well. And they're like, "Oh, you're the new director. Well, okay then, you're in charge. Cool." And it's like, and then you notice that your portrait starts appearing on walls around around the whole building, and it's like, this is such a fucking weird place.
I didn't think that was too weird because they all work there after all, and you don't know what's happened before. But some of the documents refer to internal processes for what you do when visitors come, and it depends on the sort of answers they give to questions of employees.
I read that. Yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, it made me think, well, maybe this has happened more than once, and maybe they get a new director every day. I don't know. So
but Trench has been there a long time. There's plenty of documentation and videos and stuff that imply that Trench was the director for ages because he brought in loads of changes and he did loads of construction and he did all these things that I don't want to go into.
That's true, but there's also stuff in there about dilated time and things, isn't there? So
yeah. It's just so fucking weird. Just to correct myself, Amelia, Welcome to Night Vale was a very creepy, awesome podcast of a very similar tone to Alan Wake, but not Alan Wake. The shorts in Alan Wake were Bright Falls.
Bright Falls, that's it. Thank you.
Yes. So I just wanted to correct myself there mid-podcast. I just want, all I want to do is play this game though. Like right now, doing this podcast with you, I want to rush through it so I can go play more. Not gonna lie. But basically, I am 100% hooked.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of two things. It's the sort of weird, creepy tone that they did so well in Alan Wake, combined with the very good power and gunplay mechanics in Quantum Break. You could definitely argue Quantum Break's storyline was not up to Remedy's sort of quality levels, and they've come together, and it's like Remedy have gone, right, Sam Lake and the narrative designer, Max Payne himself, they've gone, let's just blow this out of the fucking water. Let's double down on the Remedy-ness and just make the most Remedy game we've ever made.
It's more gamey, isn't it?
Everything I ever wanted from a Remedy game.
It's more gamey because it's got that open world.
It's Metroidvania. It's not open world.
Sorry, yeah, you know what I mean. It's not funneled design in the vein of Quantum Break, where there's a specific path that is laid out in accordance with the storyline that's been written. In that kind of game, it very much lives and dies on the story because the whole game's built around it, right? But this, even if you didn't read the stuff, you could still play it as a video game because it's about exploring areas, going back to different places to unlock things that you couldn't before with new abilities, new security ratings. It feels very much more like a video game, but somehow still has a rich story within that structure. So they've done really well in that. And the live action stuff that you talked about, I like that too, because it doesn't feel divorced from the action like it was in Quantum Break, where there were discrete TV episodes that I didn't think they were that bad, but I fully take on any criticism of them because they did break up the gameplay for like 20 minutes while you were watching it, or 20 minutes to half an hour, and you think, well, does this add to the experience, or is it just a different experience that I didn't buy into when I bought a video game? Do you know something that Control does really well? You know that problem, you mentioned it's like almost an open world game because it's Metroidvania, but the biggest problem with an open world game is when you stop doing the main thing to fuck around doing something else, and you're like, well, where's these people are dying, but they've been dying for the last 3 days. It's like it gets around that because the world is so weird that it makes sense that I'm going to stop what I'm doing to watch a 2 to 5 minute presentation by this crazy mad scientist. Because A, the world is bizarre, and B, I'm learning about the world at the same time my character is. So it all kind of it avoids that dissonance because of that. And it just works. I mean, every time I'm stopping to read a file that's half redacted about a strange thing that happened with light switches, it's like, that's good. Yeah,
there's so many good ones, and then that plays into the game as well. And it's like, and that's the thing. You're reading this stuff, and it's actually like, oh, it's important that I read this stuff because it could well relate to something that's going to have gameplay implications down the line. It makes sense that I'm learning about it.
Or imminently.
It really does.
Yeah, it does inform stuff that you encounter. Like, you'll read a document that'll talk about something, some experiment that's happened, and then you'll see that experiment in the next room, So it does inform and foreshadow some of the things that you'll encounter in really important ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point about how it dodges the issue of pacing in more of an open environment. It does more than that from what you've talked about. It's not just because it's weird that it gets away with it. It makes active efforts to keep that tension there when you're avoiding something that it's told you is urgent. It does keep reminding you. So there's a bit in the power plant early on where you've got to try and reactivate some coolant system, and all the while that you're not pursuing that mission, you'll hear cataclysmic bangs and explosions periodically, and you'll get told, seriously, you need to sort that shit out because it's really going to get serious in a minute. And it doesn't just let that stuff sort of sit in the background. It's constantly reminding you that there's a problem, and maybe, I don't know, you know how video games work, don't you? But you think, maybe if I do wait for another 5 minutes, something bad is going to happen. Who knows? Because there are time-sensitive things in this game. You've got those, I can't remember what they're called, do you know? You get, like, timed missions.
Bureau alerts, which I've done a bit of research about, because they're actually the end game content, so it's kind of weird that they're introduced early on, because they're very, very hard sometimes.
Yes.
So if you try and do them and you die, you only get one attempt at that particular thing. But they're basically to mean that there's always stuff for you to do even when you've beaten the game. So don't worry about doing those immediately or early on. I think one of the things I've enjoyed is that I'm starting to get more side missions now as I get further into the game, and there's more stuff to do that's not just the main story stuff. But even the side missions are just bizarre. Like the stuff I'm doing for the janitor, who is an amazing character, by the way. By the way, seems to be able to read your mind, which is pretty handy trick. But I'm cleaning stuff up for him. But what I'm cleaning up is really, really gross on levels I've never seen before. So it's just brilliant, and I love everything about it. I mean, what negatives? Maybe the crafting stuff to do with my powers and the modules for my guns is a bit like, I don't want to spend all this time in the menus because the menus aren't that interesting. Let me just get back into the world. So if you were just giving me upgrades, I would have just accepted that. You didn't have to maybe gamify that with the whole pick and choose stuff and then build a new gun.
I think it should have started smaller. It gives you too much of that stuff off the bat. But then maybe that's a sort of counter to you starting without any powers, because it does feel like there isn't enough to it to begin with. It feels like it's just you running about. It's
very quick though. You get telekinesis really quickly.
Kind of, yeah. But when it starts, it does feel like you've just got a gun, and really on its own, the gun isn't that fulfilling. Like most video games, or unlike most video games, it's got a very basic ammo system. Every gun has the same ammo. It never runs out, it just recharges. And the idea of it is that you've got this natural ebb and flow in your playstyle between using firearms and using your powers, which in the first hour or so, you don't have those powers. So it just feels like there's something missing, obviously because there is. And it takes you to get to those powers before you start to understand, oh yeah, right, I get the rhythm of this now. And you start building those powers into your repertoire as you're taking on different types of enemies, and it's at that point you think, yep, this is proper Remedy. But going back to the weapon upgrades and stuff you were talking about, I think it would have helped if they started smaller and gave you more of a handful of stuff that said, right, this is what this is for, this is the impact it has. Because those early upgrades you can take or leave them, really. They don't really help. They're far too low powered to really have any impact on your playstyle, and you get quite a lot of them. So it's one of those where you'll pick up a load of stuff and have to sort of go through your inventory and scrap things when all your room is taken up to make way for higher level equipment. But once you
I'm at the point now where I'm at the point now with those things where anything less than a third level one, I just instantly scrap it.
Yeah.
So it's especially you can upgrade this tree of things where you can craft random upgrades at a certain level, so you can like spend resources to upgrade that, so you can craft random upgrades at like level 3, 4 and 5. It's like that whole thing just feels like, why is this here?
Yeah,
because I've done it maybe once or twice, but I get a lot of just dropping from enemies. So
I don't know. I've invested a lot in that, thinking, well, if it's there, it must be useful. So I've upgraded that to level 4 drops now out of 5. I think.
Blimey! How many? You don't even have multiple slots in your guns yet, though, do you? Because you don't get them until you can't even upgrade most of your weapons till quite late.
No.
So
no, I'm sort of spending it while I've got nothing else to spend it on, really. So I thought, while I've got some of the currency in this game to spare.
What gun variants do you have? What gun variants? Do you just have the shotgun and the regular revolver?
Shatter is the revolver, is the shotgun one, isn't it?
Shotgun. And then grip.
Yeah, grip.
So you don't even have the sniper equivalent or the assault rifle equivalent?
No, don't have those. I just got one called Spin, but I haven't actually used it yet. Do you know what?
Oh, Spin's the assault rifle one.
Oh, okay. How do you select it?
You have to buy it. You have to purchase it with resources through the control point menu.
Yeah, I've done that, so I've crafted it, but then how do you switch to
it? Right, okay. Okay. You just select it. You just select one gun and put a different one in.
Oh, I see. Right, so you can only carry 2 at a time, right?
You can indeed.
That makes sense.
Only 2. So saying that, I've spent so far most of the game with just using grip and the shotgun because I found them quite a good combination. But I've just equipped Spin and I'm going to take it for a spin. Actually, so yeah, sorry about that. But man, I'm really enjoying this. I think we'll have to come back once we both finished it and have another discussion and maybe see what the ending's like and stuff and where the story goes, because I'm hoping, I've heard it doesn't stick the landing, and I'm hoping it's not that bad. But I'm enjoying the world so much that it's just it's just super cool exploring and finding new things, and the amount of variety in locations that you could get from being in a office building is quite startling. You get to see some things in this game that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's certainly not boring. You might think because it's all set in an office that there'd be not much to see, but no, there's plenty. It's a good looking game. You talked about the physics earlier on, just to comment on that. The visuals, I think it's been touted as a real looker, this game. I have to say, I'm playing it on a 4K TV on an Xbox One X, and it's not blowing me away yet beyond the style of it. I mean, on a technical level, it doesn't look the most amazing game ever, but I think when you see what happens on screen, and like you were saying, all the physics involved in every item that's on screen, it is incredible how much it does.
Truly.
When you're levitating a box of papers, and then all those boxes, all the papers individually come out and start like fluttering around the level, and there's just so much going on all at once that you.
What blew me away when I really noticed how good the physics were was I went up to a desk, and so the top part of the desk is modelled, the drawers on each side is modelled, the computer on the desk is modelled, and all of them are things I can pick up and throw around using my powers or just destroy, and it's just like that's probably taking it to a level you probably don't need to, but it's super cool that they have.
Yeah.
Like, it's mad. And that's where I imagine it struggles with performance issues. When I've had it happen once where I've gone into a room where there's a big fight going on, and I'm throwing things around, and it's like chugged the frame rate even on my X.
Yeah.
For a little while, and that's quite. I mean, that is disappointing. That is an issue, especially as resolution is only 1080 on the X. It's enhanced. I don't know what that means, but
it's 1440.
I don't think it's full 4K, is it?
It's 1440, and I think it's...
it's 1440, is it, on the X? Okay, it must be the only console that does that, because I know it goes down to 720 on the basic Xbox.
It is the only console that does that. The PS4 Pro is 1080, but the Xbox One X gets the best deal out of it. I think it's interlaced as well, so if you're looking for a 4K display, it's the closest you're going to get outside of a PC. I mean, obviously looks good.
I was going to say, on the PC, if you have the rig for it, you can have ray tracing RTX enabled beauty, supposedly, and it looks incredible. I've seen some videos. It does look insane. But yeah, I mean, at the X, I think when everything's going on, it's super impressive. They're hopefully going to... I mean, it's things like when you come out of a pause screen and the frame rate chugs every single time.
Yes.
And that's disappointing.
Or when you're looking at a map, because the game doesn't pause.
And it doesn't load in.
Well, the game doesn't pause when you're looking at the map. So you can still walk around behind it, but it chugs so badly that you can't really practically walk and look at the map at the same time.
Also, the map doesn't load half the time.
Oh, I've not seen...
You notice that?
It's sometimes slow,
so half the time
load.
for me, yeah, the map comes up, and it's like, it's got the names of the locations and like my icon on it, but it doesn't load in any of the detail.
Oh, right, yeah. I know what you mean.
So that's... At first I thought that was intentional. Like, oh, I've not discovered enough control points or something. Yeah. And then I realised, no, it's just not working.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It's been the same with some textures as well, actually. So there's quite a lot of detail, as we talked about, in the game, with like posters on the wall and different signs. And
don't eat the mould.
Eh?
Don't eat the mould. There's quite a few posters that say don't eat the mould, and you'll find out why later on.
Okay.
Don't eat the mould. Yeah,
so some of the posters haven't been able to read straight away because it's taking longer than it really should to load in some of the textures, which I'm not used to on an X. You'd think that stuff should be nailed. But
yeah, so hopefully they can improve things. But look, honestly, if anything we've told you about the setting of this or the style of this game, you know, if any of that interests you, put up with those problems if you are running on an X or a Pro. I think perhaps you might want to wait for a performance patch of some kind if all you have is an OG Xbox One or an S or a basic PS4 Slim, because yeah, from everything I've heard, I haven't actually tested it on my S because I'm kind of dreading it. I kind of don't want to sully the experience. Maybe wait for a patch in that regard. But man, the game is so cool. The setting is so interesting. I am totally hooked and need to know what happens. I really do. So that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, I think.
Yep, same. Pumped to play it more, and I need to catch up with where you are, obviously. This is my game. You should not be ahead of me on this. I've been waiting for this for ages, so I'll catch you up tomorrow.
I know you have. But no, I'm just as hooked, man. Remedy, it's great that they're multi-platform as well, because it means, you know, everybody can enjoy this. That makes me super happy as well.
Interesting that the Xbox version is apparently the best, though, as well, isn't it? After the...
Yes,
the PS4 exclusive deal with new content for them. So
there's been a lot of rumours that swirling around through more and more reputable sites that Sony might be eyeing up Remedy for a purchase.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I don't love that. They've just grabbed Insomniac. I mean, but look, Xbox has just snapped up like 15 studios in the last year and a half. So I mean, fair play, but you know, the argument there is that everybody should get to enjoy these amazing games, but at the same time, it makes sense that console manufacturers...
It bummed me out to not see Alan Wake 2 on Xbox.
Yeah, it would bum me out too, but it makes sense that console manufacturers want to grab these studios to create a reason to buy their platform, you know? So you can't really fault them for it, I suppose. It's fantastic, Control. I'm absolutely adoring this game. Performance, you know, issues in despite of that, you know. So, yeah, I think that brings us to the end of this episode, Richard.
Okay, let's go play Control.
Yeah, let's go play. Shame we can't play together. I mean, I'm not sure. Well, actually, multiplayer Control, both slinging the objects around at each other, that could be pretty cool. No idea how they'd be able to do it on netcode, but like, can you imagine?
Yeah, no, frankly, no.
Not possible. But man, that would be cool if it was. So everybody should get Control, and maybe not Erica. Put that tender towards Control, definitely. So with that, I would say that's the end of another episode of Experience Kills. That's our 6th episode, I think, of these podcasts. And we seem to be doing them a little bit more frequently now. Please give us some feedback on the YouTube comments or on Twitter regarding the new format, audio only, with, you know, segments and stuff like that. Are you enjoying it? Do you hate it? Do you want us to stop talking about Netflix things? You know, let us know in those comments or on Twitter, which is at Experience Kills. You can obviously enjoy the audio version of this episode on iTunes or Spotify or any podcast feed aggregator if you use the raw RSS feed, which is very easy to do for most of those apps. You can also find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can find Richard at Colonel Red, and as I've already mentioned, the main one is Experience Kills. So until next time, whenever that might be, where we might do a spoiler podcasty bit for the end of Control, or maybe not if the ending sucks, who knows, but we will probably have Gears of War 4 to talk about, and probably Borderlands 3 as well. As well, which is coming out this month.
We could talk about Gears of War 5 if you want to talk about the new one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point. Yeah, true. No, we're just going to talk about the old one. Ha, trick. It's a retro podcast.
Yeah.
God, yeah, I forgot God, that's an indictment of 4, isn't it?
Forgot it existed.
Yeah, not good.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's a pretty forgettable game. But Gears 5 is looking interesting and like quite a departure from the formula. So I am excited to try that out, I have to say. That's like next week, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so keep an eye out on the channel for more exciting videos and podcasts and whatnot from us. So until then, I say goodbye.
Goodbye.